kind of other patient data that you typed in. Any questions so far? Easy enough, right? So, we're gonna start off with the GI portion. So, you guys have an adapter that looks like this. The way you're gonna snap it in is there is a little, I'm trying to do it slowly, so you guys all see this slot right here. So when you put in the cable, and after this I'm gonna have everyone come up and do it so you guys have a feel for it. So ideally, if you wanna it always looks like it's supposed to be this way. It's actually gonna be this way. You're gonna put the cable in, and you're just gonna push it in until you hear a firm snap. And then what we're gonna do is, we're gonna take the GI scope. So the GI scope sits here, and I don't know if you guys want to take a picture of how it looks, but this is ideally how you want to have the scope hanging. So the reason being is, I've been into accounts where this is kind of hanging down, and what that'll do is that'll pull on the strain relief and eventually break the scope. These scopes are worth a lot of money, so we always want to make sure at the very end of every procedure we can put it up nice and comfortable like that. So I always take this portion off first. Let me remove this portion right here. Also, whenever I take the scope, I always like to have it raised above my head, just because the money maker for the scope is located right here. So this is where the video chip is. So if it's like banging on the ground and stuff like that, it's going to break. I'll see if I can run over to like a pool store and get you guys one of those noodles. So what we do is we slice the noodles up, and we put the, like the foam noodles you swim with, so we put on the very tip to kind of protect it from banging up against the wall. So I'll see if I can get that for you. So as far as plugging in the scope, you will take this portion, and you see this is our light post, this is our air, and you can probably see right up here there's two little holes. You're going to slowly push it in there and engage it. You'll push it. Oh, I just want to make sure. You're going to feel it kind of snap in. Now, this is also a very critical portion of the scope. This is our cap. So what you're going to do is you're going to rotate it, lift it off. It is super critical that no moisture ever gets in here, because if you get any kind of water in here, that's like pouring water on your laptop. It's going to be toast. So right when you take it off, you're going to want to take this cable, remember the cable we plugged in, and plug it in. So if you look, and honestly, after this, we're just going to do it hands-on where everyone comes up and does it. You'll see a little white dot here. There's a white dot on here. And all you do is you match it, and you push it in. This isn't the type of scope or cable where you can just do it with your eyes closed and try guessing it, because there's a bunch of little pins in there. So if one of the pins breaks, boom, that's the end of the scope. So this is always I always take my time, I plug it in nice and slowly, and boom, you have your image right here. So this, sorry, any questions so far? I know I'm busting through this pretty quickly. So I do like a little order of operations as far as how to set up the scope. So first things first is your light source. The light source is actually built into the monitor. So you're going to hit the light source, and as you can see, it's at 5%. You're going to want to jack it up to 100%. So you're going to grab this, pull it all the way to 100. Oh, sorry. Let's see if it stays. Okay, maybe we'll do it this way. So you'll raise it all the way up to 100, and then this little button activates the light source. As you see, it's illuminated. You can kind of see the light right here. Never look directly into the light because it's supposed to imitate sunlight. So it's very bright, it is blinding. So that first button is to do the intensity. This second button right here can actually turn the light on and off. So let's say you plug the scope in, the patient's not ready yet. You can turn it all the way up and then literally just turn it on, turn it off. As simple as that. Next step is to white balance. So what that means is every time you plug it in, since it's an external light source, the camera has to get used to the colors in the room. So what you'll do is you'll hit the light, turn it on. Just want to point at something white. So we will point it at something white, and you might see a color change a little bit. What it does, it just corrects it. It says white balance okay. So that's it. So first step is turning on the light. Second thing is white balancing. Next step is the air pump. So this is going to be your water bottle, and I think Vanessa and I discussed maybe putting some kind of Velcro on the bottom right here and taping it. So your water bottle is going to plug into here. We have a little port for the water, and you're always going to want to make sure you hear a snap. If there's no snap or like engagement, that means you're not going to have any kind of flow. Do you guys have like a suction system here by any chance, like wall suction? So what you'll do is you'll connect it to the wall suction, and we have a little suction port right here. So that's all you're going to need. And then what happens is, at the next portion is we're going to start the air pump. So this one's labeled air pump. You're going to want it on high. You're going to hear it. So the way the doctor is going to operate the scope is you have two buttons on top right here. The blue is for water, keeping it simple enough, and the red is for suction. So when the doctor is going in there, they'll quite often hit the water, because once you're inside the patient, there's gonna be a lot of like saliva and gook and everything on there. So they'll hit the water, and there's a little nozzle right here that sprays water to clear the scope. They'll also do suction too, because sometimes when they're in the tummy of the dog or the cat, there's a lot of bile, so they'll go in there and they'll suction up all the bile. So all that suction stuff will come out of here and into your suction canister. This will have to be filled with distilled water, so emphasis on distilled water. And that's pretty much it as far as setup for the scope. I think Vanessa and I discussed, let's see how we did. So you also have picture taking capabilities here as well. So you can either have one of you guys standing here taking pictures, or we can program it to where the doctor can take a picture on the scope. I usually like having the doctor taking pictures, just because at least they can say, all right, I can do it themselves. So let's see what we have it set up on. Still, so let's say this one right here. So there you go, it took a picture, it says 1 image recorded, and that will tell you how many pictures you have. We also have the option to do a video. You can zoom in too, but I mean, I prefer not to zoom in. I always like to have it kind of zoomed out. And then we also have reverse orientation. So let's see if we can, so you'll point it at the screen, then you'll hit reverse, and you can literally change the look of it. So if the doctor's inside and they were like, I can't twist the scope and stuff, you can physically go up there and turn the orientation on there so that they can get a better angle. So this is one of those systems where you're gonna have to do at least like 5 procedures to get comfortable, even though you guys are just, you know, setting up and assisting. You're probably covering the most cases, honestly, more than the doctors. Are we having ER do this as well, or everyone? So yeah, you guys are gonna be like, you're the front lines. You're gonna know this better than they are. So if they ever have any issues with like orientation, just say, hey doc, can I try, you know, changing the orientation, seeing how that goes. Any questions so far?
Can you take a picture with that?
So on here, we have 3 buttons. We have 1 button here. So I think that's gonna be the easiest one, so they can literally just do a quick press. It wants to work. Oh, sorry, I have it set on here. So if they do, let's see if it works. Yep, there you go. If they press it, that can take a picture. I can also program, I think, the black button to take a picture too. I just keep it super simple. Some people are like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. I'm like, just, if they press a button, it's a picture, you know? So at least if they get confused, and it is disorientating too for the doc to be in there. Oh, I didn't see you there. It is you know, it's like, you know, it's stressful. They're trying to find stuff, so it's not one of those things like, which one do I press? It's just like, press a button and it'll take a picture. So
is the same thing with the video as well?
I can program it to, so it's only, I think if I do it as a hold, so let's see if we can actually do that right now. So this top one is there, let's see, blue long. So I think if I do it for long, let's try that. So if I do a quick press, it's picture. Let's see if I hold it for like 3 seconds. It's gonna work, let's see. Oh, video, okay. So yeah, so as you can see right there, it's doing a video. So if you hold it, so maybe I'll bring the label maker in here and I'll just say, quick press is picture, long is hold, or long is video. So let's hold it for a little bit longer. And there you go, it stopped taking the video. So, like I said, I think the best way for everyone in the room to learn is to physically hold it and play with it. So that's as far as like setup goes. As far as orientation of the scope, there's these little knobs right here. The big one is up and down, and the way you can, if you, God forbid, forget it, there's literally a D and a U. So that's up, down, and then this little smaller one is right and left. So as a rep, it's always tough for me to tell doctors how to operate, but I always try to say, be as gentle with this scope as possible, because there are a bunch of pulleys in here, and if they're just, going crazy, like twisting and stuff like that, you can snap a lever in here and it would have to go in for repair. So I'll tell the doctors just to say, hey, I know it's a brand new scope, but just be gentle with it. Quite often they'll hold it, if they're right-handed, they'll hold this portion with their left hand, and the right is used to advance it. So sometimes you'll see if they're inside the patient, they'll even take their hand off that and they'll just use this to kind of go up and down, right and left and stuff. I would always just keep an eye just to make sure they're not going too crazy, because you can break the scope. Another thing too is dogs and cats have sharper teeth, in my opinion, than dogs. So this is rubber on the outside. So you always want to be careful and conscious of where the canines are, especially, because if this tears, that breaks the scope too. So you're going to want to make sure that, the teeth are well out of the way. If there's any way we can make people like an intubation tube or something like that for them to slide it through. I've seen people do like 60 cc gauges, and they'll cut half of it off, and they'll put it in the patient's mouth, and then they'll just go through that just to avoid the teeth. So that's something that the doctor can choose and whatever they're comfortable with. That's a lot of information, I know. Did you guys have any questions regarding it? And after this, I want everyone to physically plug it in and play with it too, to make sure that you guys are comfortable. So that's that. As far as cleaning goes, I don't know where we put I'll bring in some brushes. I can't find the brushes. Do we have an enzymatic cleaner here for cleaning? Do we have that person in the room? So as far as enzymatic cleaner goes, we're gonna take, so let's say the procedure's done. We're gonna remove this cable. And like I said, this should not be exposed ever. So right after you take that cable, you're gonna wanna make sure that this is firmly on, and that you rotate it on, snap it on there. You're gonna remove the suction, and actually what we'll do is we'll leave the suction on. So after let's say the case is over, you'll wanna have maybe like a little basin of water or something like that, and you'll stick the tip of the scope in there, and you'll hit the suction button. So what that does is it suctions all the clean water and starts to clear all the gook and the nasty stuff in the scope for getting it ready for cleaning. So you'll stick the scope inside there, you'll suction out as much water as you can, and then you'll remove the suction, you'll take the water off, and if you guys have alcohol prep pads, maybe keep one on the side right here, because I always like to take an alcohol prep pad and just give it a gentle wipe on the distal tip. So if you guys can see, there's like a tiny little circle, that's the camera. So for this giant scope, it's just ridiculously tiny, so you're always going to want to make sure it's clean. So I always take a little alcohol wipe pad and I just wipe it off. You're going to slowly remove this, and then we'll take it over to do a thorough cleaning. As far as a thorough cleaning, do we have an area where we can do a demo for it, or?
We have sterilization, but
Are we trying to do gas or?
What do you think? Preferably we'd probably do gas, right?
Yeah, preferably gas, but we can get away with just
with autoclaving.
Yeah, well, not autoclaving.
Okay, yeah,
gas.
That's why.
Yeah, gas. So yeah, if we have a gas sterilization system, we would use that. I'll have to find the cap for it, because there was a cap that came with it. I don't see it on here, but yeah, for the gas sterilization. So first we would clean the whole scope very thoroughly. So you're gonna use an enzymatic cleaner. We have a brush that goes through here, so the brush would go through 5 times. I don't see the blue. Do we have? Oh, here we go. The box is right here. Okay, so what I'll do too is these brushes are single use. I know the term single use doesn't really apply to. I have a bunch at home. I'll give you some. I know the term single use isn't true on the vet side. We try to use as often as we can. These brushes though, I do recommend we do it single use, just because if you see there's a little white ball on here, if the white ball ever comes off, it's like a knife going through. So I always say, just use the brushes once, throw it away. It's not the, hopefully it's not the end of the world. And here I'll actually get a little bit closer to show you how we're gonna clean this. So I always like to keep the scope as long as I can. I never try to curl it just because that can bend the scope over time. So you're going to have two areas where you're going to stick the scope through, or the brush through. So this first one right here is your working channel. So every time doc is doing a procedure and they shove like a basket through, this is the port that's going through. So you're going to want to, and as you can see, it's a very long scope. So you're going to see it come at the tip, perfect. And so these brushes are awesome because they are double brushed. So all you have to do is go on the other side, and with everything, especially these scopes, do it slowly. I know it can be, if you guys are in a rush, it can have like all the pressure in the world, but try to do it as slowly as possible. So we're going to do that 3 times. We're going to go through this portion right here. This is where your suction is. So you're going to have one go through here. So that should come out the very tip as well. Eventually there. So we're going to do this 3 times as well. And then last but not least, there's one more port right back here. There you go. So once you kind of like see where it goes, you'll understand it. So that's not going to come out the tip. You'll see where it comes out. It's actually going to come out the suction port. And you might feel a little bit of resistance. So as long as this is all super straight, you can go ahead and keep pushing through just slowly. And there you go. Do you see at the very end? So slowly but surely, you're going to pull it through. One thing I forgot to mention during the first part of the in-service was, let's say doc is pushing like a biopsy forceps. They always want to make sure that this is straight, because if it is curled like this, imagine like a piece of metal. So the tip is covered, but it's a metal piece. So imagine that trying to push through and rub up against. Over time, it'll eventually cause a hole. So they always want to make sure that that scope tip is straight. They'll advance the forceps, and then after, like, what they'll do is they'll see the forceps and they'll pull it back a little bit. And then if they have to manipulate it, they can manipulate it kind of back and around just like that. That's another thing, since you guys are going to be there for like every procedure, I would always emphasize that with the doc. Secondly, after we do the brushing, here's a sterilization. To bring it in, but we also have these 2 hoses that would attach to here, and you would just shoot the water through. So after you do the brush, you're going to shoot the enzymatic cleaner, you're going to shoot clean water. Always start off with enzymatic cleaner, get it through, and then at the very end you're going to shoot clean water through. It doesn't have to be sterile water, it doesn't have to be distilled water, but just has to be clean drinking water. So if it's from the tap, you can do that. Shoot it through, make sure all the enzymatic is off, and then after you do the enzymatic cleaner, we'll take this sterilization cap. You're going to want to make sure the scope is completely dry. The sterilization cap goes onto here and clicks in. The reason we have a sterilization cap is to depressure the scope. So these scopes are very fragile. When they fly in or when they get delivered, they go on planes. And if this cap isn't on there, the pressure from the planes, you know, when your ears pop, it can cause the scopes to like explode on the plane. So if you ever see like a brand new scope comes in with like the sterilization cap, it's for a reason. So if you're using it for gas, always, always, always make sure you have the sterilization cap on, because if not, you'll break the scope. Easy mistake to be made, just do not forget it. I can even put like a label on here, like do not forget cap for sterilization, or we'll put it next to your gas machine. Any questions? I know that was a lot. It's gonna make a lot more sense when we do a case, so whenever you guys schedule your first GI or endoscopy, I'll be here from start to finish to put the patient info in, to plug the scope in. I'll help you clean it, and we'll make sure you're on good terms. So.
As far as sterilization wise, is there like a case for it? Like we have pouches, but I don't think they're big enough for the whole scope itself. Like what would be an ideal?
I can find you a tray. I'm actually surprised she didn't get you a tray.
Yeah.
I'll find you a tray.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'll bring a tray. It's because the toughest part is just how long it is. For like the smaller flexible scopes, it was easy.
Mhm.
Yeah, the big one, I'll see if we have a specific tray that we can put this in.
Okay.
Yeah, if you guys want to gas it, that's preferred. So,
Okay.
but yeah. Do we want to start playing with it to plug it in and everything? I also have a video I can show you. There's